Hi guys, welcome back to Dadlicious Eats, and we're heading into Lunar New Year. So I'm going to give you one of my favorite Korean recipes. So this is for Jeokbokkeum, which is basically a Korean spicy pork belly. When you pair this with a little bit of white rice with some lettuce, you've got the perfect dish. It's a little bit spicy, it's got a little bit of sweetness to it as well, but most of all, it's got delicious pork belly goodness. Now, there are a few ingredients needed for this. You can buy all of them at probably your local Asian store, but actually most of the supermarkets in the UK stock pretty much all of these ingredients anyway, and they're not particularly pricey. Once you've got them, then you can use them time and time again. As always, you'll find this recipe on dadliciouseats.com. I'll also pop it into the description below for the video. It would really help me out if you were to like the video. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm and helps me share this recipe with as many people as possible. If you've got a comment, drop it below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you've got a question, let me know and I'll see if I can help you. Right, it's time to get cooking. Right, so first up, let's have a look at the ingredients. We've got a kilo of pork belly. So I've got this partially frozen because it's easier to slice. A few spring onions, 1 tablespoon of grated ginger, 6 cloves of garlic, an onion, an apple. We're going to be using gochujang, which is a Korean chili paste. We're going to use 4 tablespoons of that. 2 tablespoons of Korean chili flakes. 2 tablespoons of sesame oil. 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. 3 tablespoons of rice wine. A tablespoon of runny honey, and finally 2 tablespoons of sugar. It seems like a lot, but you can get all of these from an Asian market fairly easily. So for the sauce, we're pretty much going to throw everything into a bowl. So first up, we've got the chili flakes. This makes it fairly spicy, so you can tone up or down the chili flakes and the gochujang depending on your preference. So we're going to pop in the soy sauce. So a few tablespoons of that. And then the rice wine. Any rice wine will do, so it doesn't have to be a specific Korean one. If you've got a Chinese one available, that's fine, and they're available from a normal supermarket. In goes the sugar. In goes the sesame oil as well. Then we're going to take our apple. So I've got a fairly small apple, it doesn't have to be particularly big, or you would use half of a larger apple. You can use a pear as well, if you've got one of those handy. So we're going to grate that into the bowl, and that adds a little bit of that sort of natural sweetness in. Welcome back to all my subscribers. Appreciate you watching this video. If you're not a subscriber, still appreciate you. Why not click the subscribe button to catch more of my videos? It would really help me out if you could like this video. If you've got a comment about it or a question, pop it down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So we've got the apple in, or pear if you've chosen to use a pear. And next up, we're going to take our ginger, pop that in, our honey, and again, same with the heat. If you prefer this sweeter or less sweet, you can amend the amount of sweet items in there. We've got our gochujang chili paste. So we're going to pop this in. I was originally toying with using about 6 tablespoons worth, but I think the balance of flavour is a little bit better using 4 tablespoons. In goes the garlic. And then we've got our spring onions, so just pop the ends off those and then roughly chop them into probably, inch-long pieces. Throw them into the bowl. And then finally we're going to add in our onion. So don't worry too much if you've not caught up with all of the ingredients. I'm going to pop that on www.dadliciouseats.com. I'll also pop the ingredients down below in the description of the video for you, so you can just reference it there. If this does seem like too much for you, don't worry, there are pre-made sauces out there. Companies like BBQ in particular make a fairly good sauce, but I find the homemade sauces taste so much better, and you can tweak the recipe as you see fit. So the onion doesn't need to be finely chopped, you can just chop it any way you like. You probably want bits big enough to sort of pick up with your chopsticks or your fork or your spoon. But you don't have to be particularly neat about it. So pop that in the bowl. And then we're going to give this all a really good mix around. So just make sure it's really well combined. If you're big on food preparation, then you can also make 2 or 3 times this amount of sauce. Pop it into a freezer bag, pop it in the freezer, and it's good for next time you want to make this dish. So moving on, and we're going to cut up the meat. So like I said, we've got pork belly here. So I had frozen this for a little while to solidify the meat a little bit because it's far easier to cut it. And you want to cut it as thin as you can really, so that's why it is easier to pop it in the freezer a little bit beforehand. Make sure your knife is nice and sharp. It's always safer to have a sharp knife rather than a blunt one. Just work your way along the meat. And you probably want a couple of 100 grams per person for this. So that's all done. We're going to pop that into the sauce itself. Give that a mix. You could leave it in for an hour. You could leave it in overnight. The longer the better, always with anything that you're marinating. But just make sure that this is really well coated and covered. If you're using fresh pork that you haven't popped in the freezer beforehand, actually you could make this whole dish pretty much and then pop it into the freezer, and then you've got a quick weeknight meal whenever you need it. So we'll pop that away and come back later. So when you're ready to cook this, we're going to take our frying pan, pop a little bit of oil in, bring that up to temperature, and when that's nice and hot, we're going to scoop all of our meat into the pan. Just be careful because the oil can obviously splatter. Also with something like this, when you've got a nice spicy chili sauce, be careful because this is going to get onto your tiles and you want to make sure they don't stain, so give them a quick clean afterwards as well. And we're going to cook this off probably for about 10 minutes or so until it's nicely cooked through, just like we've got here. Smells absolutely delicious. You've got the sauce bubbling at the edges, which, because you've got the sugar within the sauce itself, that then starts to caramelize a little bit, which adds this extra flavor to the dish, which I absolutely love. So once you're happy that that has cooked through nicely, it's time to plate up. So we're going to be serving this with some nice white rice, also some lettuce leaves, which A, give it a little bit of freshness, but B, it's kind of fun to pick up when you've got the meat inside the lettuce, almost as a bit of a wrap. So just finish this off with some sesame seeds on top. I guarantee you're going to love this. Give it a try, let me know how it goes. I'll be back with more great recipes soon. Cheers guys!